Hello and welcome to another wonderful week of Radio Melee here on the Golden Guardians channel. It's like what's going on in the Melee community right now. I think for a lot of people, what's fresh on people's minds is okay, Big House is coming up. So we've got legendary head TO of Genesis, which is another tournament that's relevant. Dr. Z, aka Sheridan, aka Pterodactyls, aka Hugo. What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm doing great. We just finished Genesis early bird registration and feeling like it went pretty well. And now I just get to kick back and look forward to Big House.
Did you just say Genesis early bird registration?
Yes.
Should I go register for that? Like the thing that's after, what's after early bird?
You could register, or you could apply to be on commentary and
oh yeah, okay,
maybe secure yourself a
spot that way. Let's do it that way. Okay, that sounds like a good idea. When is it? February?
It's January 20th through 22nd. Okay.
Awesome. I'll definitely be there. Gotta say, Sheridan, to the people who are less, I don't know, the Slippy Zoomers and all those guys, Sheridan, definitely one of my favorite people in the community to talk to, period. One of my favorite people in the community, period. So it's really cool to have you here. And I wanted to ask, because I see your backdrop, is that your folks' house? Where are you physically?
No, I'm at home.
Which home? Your home? Your own home?
My home in Portland, Oregon.
Because I remember going to, I don't know if you picked out a house that seems to have a similar kind of setup, but I remember playing friendlies with you after Mango Juice in 2009.
Oh,
yeah. I believe it was your parents' house or family. Not your Novato house, but there was someplace, man. And where was that?
The Novato house, yeah. Almost certainly the Novato house.
Okay.
Which was an incredible Smash Fest house.
Oh, dude, there was
so much room for device to sleep on the floor and sleeping bags and whatnot. Yeah.
Yes. One of the long time, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like traditions of NorCal Melee for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be. But yeah, it's dope. I mean, I think that we've got definitely a lot to talk about. I think one of the interesting topics, we did 4-side fights this past week on the Melee and Omni channel. And PP, Sheridan, I don't know if either of you guys caught this, but basically it's this funny format that I think Jackzilla ran the program, but
I watched it.
And it was basically, the idea is you talk about stuff, but you can win, so you get points for things. And one of the topics that I thought was pretty interesting that came up was we've got a bunch of really crazy majors, one of them being, of course, Big House, and also, of course, the Ludwig Invitational, that like everyone's going to basically. And one of the questions was like, that we got into a little bit was, what is even going to be the most prestigious event, in the fall period? Because obviously Big House has 10 years of history, but also for the Ludwig Invitational, just in terms of the people who are going, it's, I think everyone. Maybe I saw Plup was like somebody that people weren't sure if Plup was going to make it, but okay, every other person you could imagine, frickin' Spud's going. That's going to be really exciting. And I'm sure you pay attention to this sort of thing, Sheridan, but like, there have not been that many tournaments across time where it feels like every single top player is there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Big House is getting pretty close, right? Like they've got, they're at like 24 of the top 25. I'm not sure, but they're getting pretty close to just filling out that top roster. But it's weird because like the prestige of the event historically, like the number of top players that show up, that's definitely a big part of it. But also just like the history of the event itself, right?
Yeah.
Because you can think of like MLG Anaheim 2014 or Battle of the Five Gods. All extremely stacked events. And really great events for viewership, but maybe don't necessarily hold like as high of a position in prestige as even like Big House 9, right? Or just the average Big House.
That's a good point. Battle of the Five Gods is a great example of that. And it's funny because on the flip side, this is something that this is a point I was kind of making to my good buddy Laudandus lately, because we go to the gym frequently. And I was telling him, the really cool thing, and I haven't heard anyone make this point yet, but this is something I've observed about myself, where there'll be a major, and PP, maybe you've noticed this too, but it'll be a major or something, and I'll be like, no, there's like a bunch of people who aren't at the tournament. You know, it's like okay, Mango skipped this one, and Leffen didn't come because he's in Sweden, and Plub didn't come because the airport thing, and like there's like 4 of the top players are not present. Okay, but we've got Zane and Jmook and Hungry Box and Amsa and like Axe or something. So it's like there's this funny thing going on right now, and I don't know if I've ever felt this where like 4 of the top players can be absent, and I still feel like it's a crazy top 8. And it's really stacked. I don't think we've ever had this. In the Five Gods era, it would be, kind of you needed at least 3 or 4 of the Five Gods to show up for it to feel like a true super major. But now, like, Shine top 8, there were a bunch of people who weren't at Shine. Cody's been out. Obviously, Leffen wasn't there. Obviously, Plup wasn't there. Amsa wasn't there. And it was still like, wow, this is a crazy tournament. Riptide, same way. Which to me makes, there are going to be some of these top players are going to get ninth at at Big House and at Ludwig Invitational, right? Like, because Wizzy's gonna be in the mix. You're gonna, like you're gonna see people who could win the tournament not even play that bad and get like ninth, which is wild. And I don't know if we as a community are even really ready for that.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to just how much we've exited from the Five Gods era, right? Because yeah, there's just so many more names that people think of as the top tier now because like there's so many triangles, right? Like Axe is going to beat Zane, except for like the first time out of 22 that he did it, right? And then you have a bunch of characters that can counter Axe, and then Zane's going to beat everybody else, or is he? You've got
like Johnny gives him trouble. Jmook gives him trouble.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Sheiks.
So like there's we always, the reason it was Five Gods is because they would only beat each other. So those are the only names you heard at the end of the tournament, right?
Yeah.
You're just the average viewer and you're like, I just want to see what grand finals or like losers finals was. Now throughout this whole year, you've heard like 15 or 20 names now.
Yeah.
And now that really excites you because, this person beat somebody who was regarded as the best player in the world. So like you just have like more names that you hear constantly.
Sharon, I want to ask you something. Do you feel any sense of pride in the fact that Jmook kind of launched his career at your tournament? You know what I mean? Is that a thing that you think of at all? I don't know what it's like being a TO. I don't know what it's like. I'm kind of curious.
I have just always believed that we are kind of at the mercy. Genesis is at the mercy of the Smash gods. The Smash divine beings, and for whatever reason, they just always happen to smile upon us. So I'm just eternally grateful for their blessing.
That's really funny.
It seems like no matter what happens, something
always
beautiful happens at Genesis.
Yeah. The Jmook one was people were definitely losing their minds. So yeah, that is pretty cool, and I cannot wait for the next one. But we got to get through a couple other super majors on the way there. And me and PP would like to remind everybody in chat, everybody tuning in, of course, that, you actually can talk to us live on air and ask us basically whatever you want about, Super Smash Brothers Melee, about, tournaments that are coming up, about what it's like to be the TO of a massive tournament and, behind the scenes or really, Sheridan also a really old school player and one of the people who I think was on the NorCal PR for the longest stretch of time. It was like over 10 years in a row, I believe. Maybe almost a little over, some over under.
Not sure if I got 10 years, but yeah, It was like 2006 through 2015.
Jeez Louise. Yeah. So these are all things that you can easily talk to us with live on air and ask us, basically whatever you want. Give us your hot takes just with !radio melee in either my chat or PP's chat. It really is that easy. And it's funny. I just want to egg some of you on. I see some people in my chat that are always there. And you guys are tuning in every week and you guys always have really interesting questions, but you leave them in chat and you don't join the Discord. You don't actually talk to us. And I know, it's a little nerve wracking. You got to get up here and talk to me and PP. But we're very welcoming. You're going to have a good time, so you should just do it.
True.
Yes. Yes, big orange fish. I want to see you submit your question. That's right. Submit topics here channel. But yeah, that's I'm pretty pumped. I think it's going to be a really fun. I've been going a lot of like locals and stuff and reconnecting with the local scene in a big way. So it's just been a really fun time in Melee for me. But yeah, PP, I know you've been to a lot of Genesis's and Sheridan's tournaments as well. You guys, I'm sure, have chatted a good bit.
Yeah, and Sheridan's someone I've always enjoyed kind of talking to and listening to for a
He's
long
got that
time.
effect.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of my exposure to Sheridan over the time was when he was, he'd be on commentary at Foundry or something, and it's a tournament where everyone's drinking, and yet he still brings such a calm, level-headed perspective. It's something I've always greatly appreciated about him, and
Good point.
let him know that I forget, it might have been one of the big houses actually I went to, and I think I said something like that to you. But regardless, never hurts to say it again. So
Yeah,
good presence and good insight, no doubt, will be had here today.
it can be hard to be Sheridan. Definitely one of those sorts of people who's entertaining, like stone sober, because people will be drinking, and the kind of energy of the building will be at a certain level, and yet people do kind of tend to defer when Sheridan has something interesting to say. So
Well, appreciate the kind words. So we'll see if I live up to it or not.
Of course. Before we get into our callers for the day, of course, we have a little tradition here on Radio Melee that some of you longtime YouTube viewers are familiar with. We like to do a little thing called the community voice, and every single week at the end of the episode, so Sheridan will do this as well, we ask our guest to basically ask a question to you guys, a question directed to the YouTube viewers every week on the Golden Gardens Melee YouTube channel, and it can be about anything in the world. It can be about gameplay. It can be about history. It can be about top player storylines. It can be about, Elijah Wood. We had Elijah Wood that one time. So
we did.
It can be literally about anything you want. And Sheridan will present a question to you at the end of the show. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the responses from last week's community voice, when we had a question about, I think it was basically up and comers. It was like
up and comers.
Shout out someone from your scene that people got to be on the lookout for.
We talked with S2J last week. We had a question. Someone was talking about up and comers, and then he passed it along to you guys. And it looks like we got a bunch of different names here. So plenty of good stuff.
Lotus the Goat says sup. That's intimidating. Is that literally Joe Biden? Might be.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah, hello, Joe. Best of luck with your your local results in the MDVA area, I assume. Really, the DMV area. Yeah, the cave. There is the cave. Yeah, there is the cave. Joe Biden could show up to that. There is a famous top level North American Chip Xanath player in Guilty Gear named Joe Biden. Goes by Joe Biden. Yeah. It's very exciting. So maybe he's branching out to Smash Bros. We got Beep in here, with a really funny looking profile picture, I might add. He's not really a new person to see, and I really feel like Mateo is going to make a big splash soon. Oh, good answer. He's been consistently coming to majors, doing really well at them, but just slightly misses the main stage, and I'm not sure people know how good he is at the moment. I feel like feels like he's really grinding out these IRL events ever since they started again, and his control of Falcon is really impressive. Mateo is awesome. He was actually on my crew for the pop-up 5v5, like, not draft crews, but just crew battles, like, just put a crew together and play a crew battle tournament at Gommel. It was myself, Swooper, of course, Zuppy, Toussaint, and Mateo rounding out the crew. And I got to tell you, Mateo was very, very impressive. Definitely a super duper solid player. And I just really love when the Canadians band together for their boys. But yeah, that guy is definitely getting really solid. He was going toe to toe with some of Europe's finest, and he was doing really well in that. You can read the next one, PB.
Yeah, sure. So Dr. Sage writes in saying, I'm going to have to go with my favorite Rising player, my favorite character, B-Bats. This guy's popping off right now, has had a very quick rise. He seems to have a good attitude, just keeps getting better. I'm definitely looking forward to see more from him. I think B-Bats is someone that is just really fun to watch because he doesn't stop holding forward, even though he's playing Peach, which is wild in 2022, and he's getting results. Very cool.
And speaking of 2022, he has not been playing for very long. So B-Bats apparently started playing like in the pandemic. Like started
wow.
literally as a Slippy kid. Started playing I think in 2020, which is insane.
Wow.
You don't really see that kind of thing very often. So yeah, that is wild.
Very impressive.
Pseudo nostalgia, I think, giving a similar kind of answer as POTUS the Goatus says, I think I'm gonna pop off in the future. Look out for pseudo lock at your local. That
Coming
does
to
imply
everyone's locals.
exactly everyone's locals. It's not one given region.
No one is
It's
safe.
every region. And David Hall says null is the future melee. Trust me. Yeah, I do believe that for sure. Plus, we're gonna live in an SUJ world very soon. I really do hope we see more of these Johnny performances because when he looks good, he looks really good.
Yeah.
Even when he doesn't look that good, he looks really good.
Like, true. He's been
even
and also
his
he's been working
baseline.
out.
And he's been working out. Yep. He's been getting more in shape. That matters a lot, to be honest with you. I think that really does. I think you see that kind of thing very visibly.
He's becoming Falcon.
Yes. He is definitely you see it at IRL tournaments more and more. So very excited for that. And with that, I think we can just about get our first caller in for the program. Looks like we got joining us. Oh, hang on. I've got what's the
Waffle Man. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Man.
Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
Hello. I'm calling in from Connecticut. And my question is, you have 5 minutes to convince someone Melee is the sickest esport of all time. What set do you choose? Personally, for me, it's Blue versus Salt at Smash Summit 13 because the first 5 minutes of that set is like some of the sickest Melee ever played.
Oh man, dude, people do like referencing that, man. I forgot about that. Yeah, that might be a good one actually.
I forgot about that set. I think there is something very captivating in when you show people, like from a sportsmanship angle, when you show people like this is an important tournament set with lots of money on the line, but here these two guys were clearly having fun. I think that does speak to people, especially at the casual level. Like people really like that. People like competitors not taking themselves too seriously. So there is something to be said about that. I have to think about my answer. Sheridan, do you have a built-in answer?
I don't have a built-in answer, but I'm thinking about like what is like the matchup I would want to show to people. And I think if I want to show somebody that an esport is really sick and that they should play it also, I think an important thing to be able to see in the set is like, do I understand what each of these two people are trying to accomplish? Because like I want to be able to put myself in their mind. Like when I go and start playing the game, I have something I know. Okay, this is how I'm going to start playing a game. This is what I'm going to do. If I watch like a fighting game and I just see two people just like jumping at each other and I don't know what they're trying to do, it doesn't really make me want to play the game. But if I'm watching like Marth versus Falco and I see like, oh, the Falco's doing lasers because he doesn't want to let the Marth come in that particular way. The Marth's got to get around him. And when he grabs him, get him off the stage and just poke him or do the chain grab, like now I know what each person's goal is in that matchup. And like, I mean, when I think of Marth versus Falco, the thing that comes to my mind is Big House 9 Grand Finals.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if like the first 5 minutes of that is like the, apotheosis of Marth versus Falco.
You might have to cut up clips of it and show them.
Right.
Oh, it is 5 minutes. That's a good point. Ooh, man.
You need more time? That
is an interesting constraint. That does change things. Because,
right.
I kind of had a similar thought where, like, if I could plop somebody in a time machine and take them to any given moment that made me fall in love with the game, that I feel like most people would fall in love with the game, it would be Mango Armada Genesis 1. But, Puff Peach, like, and especially if it's the 5-minute time constraint, if it's just me showing someone a video, then it's much harder to pick that set. Obviously, the production value wasn't as good. There weren't overlays and things like that back then. So yeah, let me think about this. That's an interesting constraint.
I think so. My way to answer this question while Toph thinks about it is what gets. So I'm just going to go with what gets a lot of other people in. What gets a lot of other people juiced about Melee? And I think for me, something that I've noticed, and this is kind of true for how I got into it as well. I didn't necessarily know when I first started watching, but I was searching for it, granted, but I didn't know necessarily what I was watching. But I remember being really excited. There was like DDR music in the background in this one video, and I was like, okay, this is crazy what these guys are doing. And there was this feeling of there was just this feeling of excitement, and I wanted to follow that. And I think when so many people talk about being hooked, they talk about this feeling of excitement and wanting to follow it. So for me, I'd pick I think people often say one of the Mango Leffins, like Genesis 4, whichever one it was. People really like that one. And I think that one also has a crowd mic, or you can hear the crowd from it. And I think that really helps sell how interesting this is. Oh, there was something difficult that happened. It's like, it's like laugh track for excitement. Crowd scream, oh, this is very good. This means like this was difficult, and this is interesting for me too. And so I could see that being something that sort of thing hooks a lot of people. I totally get wanting to follow along, and that might be a better route, but maybe there's enough with the crowd understanding to help get there, at least for some. And I'm just thinking of what helped other people.
Yeah, I will say the crowd shot at that particular, both the Genesis theaters, both the San Jose one and the Oakland one. That is a really cool crowd shot. And so I do think that helps, because it at once doesn't feel too esportsy in the traditional sense. It doesn't feel like, some kind of optic gaming, kind of like futuristic looking thing, but it's but it's a very intense and passionate crowd. And it's a really just sick looking venue with, like it feels like there's history there, which kind of I think adds to the whole experience, because obviously Genesis has a lot of history.
Right.
And the crowd mic is a really good point.
Yeah.
Mango Leff and Genesis 4. Someone in chat, just as you were starting to say it, it's funny. Someone in chat, shout outs to Klob, said Mango Leff and Genesis 4 is up there.
It comes up a lot. It comes up for a lot.
So that is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I will throw a bone to another more recent Genesis set that I thought was a nail biter. I'm going to go with Zane IBW from the most recent Genesis. The set that people thought was I heard people call it like the real grand finals. Obviously not really. Obviously it was JMOOC, but like that was the set that, like, if Zane was going to lose a set, it was going to be that one,
Right.
That set was really intense.
Yes.
It was fast paced enough that you could get through a good bit of it in 5 minutes. I think it has the aspect of Sheridan's thing where like the win conditions are relatively clear, in the sense that like, oh wow, that Marth guy really does sort of, he has the range advantage, and when he gets his hands on this Fox character, that guy seems to explode. On the flip side, the Fox character is really fast. And like, so I think there's a nice dichotomy there with the Marth and the Fox, in a similar way. And so I think this set for me is going to tick a lot of the boxes. A little bit of recency bias, but maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe more recent sets are just higher level play in general. So I'm going to go with that one. I think that's actually not a bad answer at all. And it wasn't even finals.
Very true. I don't know if I have too much to add to that. I think these are all fine answers. I don't know if Waffle Man,
even Blue versus Salt.
Blue versus Salt.
Blue versus Salt.
Yeah, the only other one I could think of was that one tournament where Zane played Mango and he was like super drunk, and that was like a 7-minute set. You would probably get that whole set in, which is pretty cool.
Was that the one? Mango always tells this story about how he was really drunk or something, and he goes up to Zane and he's like, he says something like, he's like, they're playing friendlies and he's getting tossed, and he says something like, oh, we're gonna have a really good set.
Are we the only ones who care?
Yeah. Are we the only ones who care? Yeah. Are we the only ones who care? And Mango's completely drunk, and Zan does care. It's just like, yes. Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's a good answer. Yeah, that's the other angle. You could literally just take a like, I don't know, Taj versus Silent Spectre. You could take a set that was just over in 5 minutes, and one of the guys got destroyed, and just be like, hey, look how fast this guy got destroyed. And this guy's pretty good, but this other guy whoops on him. You could definitely take that angle. You'd fit that. You'd fit inside the 5 minute constraint really easily with that approach.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, hey, good question, Waffle Man. Thank you so much for calling in. Any shout outs for us on your way out today?
Shout outs to Vortex Reborn. It is a Smash Ultimate and Multiverses for all the Multiverses fans in chat. Local in Connecticut. That's where I do my commentary. They're a great group of guys if you're in the area. Also, shout outs to Hall of Gaming in Wallingford, Connecticut. So like after Shine, Mech just went to our Ultimate local there, which was pretty cool.
That is cool.
And I was like, I just opened stream and I was like, is that Mech? So that was cool. They do Ultimate, P Plus, and Melee, so check them out. But Other than that, that's about it. Thank you guys for doing such great work for the community.
Thank you, gamer. Take care.
Have a great one,
Nice.
Waffle Man.
See ya.
I like to think that guy's just. I like to think the Waffle Man's just selling waffles on the street. He's just the Waffle Man, you know. It's just
I'd like
that's
to
his
meet
thing.
that man.
Yep. I would like to meet him. I'd like to have him make me a waffle. Might be nice.
See what
Well, we've
the
got our
perfected craft is like. But yeah, sorry.
the perfected craft.
We got our
Because
next.
there's
caller.
homemade waffles, but then there's the
Oh,
waffle man,
right.
you know. So
Right.
there's levels to it.
There are two waffles inside you.
That's right.
Anyway, we've got our next caller in here. Omar, welcome to the program. Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
What's up, guys? I'm calling in from Boston. My question is, let's say that someone came along and coded up a game from scratch with the exact same frame data, stages, all the same mechanics.
Good
Melee. It feels the exact same way to play. Yeah, I've seen this idea being thrown around. But, it's got completely new art. Captain Falcon is like Captain Buff Guy or whatever. It's like, yeah, DMCA free or whatever. Are we liberated from Nintendo, or have we just lost some of the soul of the game and people just wouldn't switch? What do you guys worry that wouldn't be quite the same with the game with this?
It's a hard question.
Jared, you start. What do
Me
you think?
start.
You
If
start.
you need time,
Has
if you
the,
need time, I can
most
talk.
at stake with the answer to this question. Okay. Wow. Wow. I think
It's a
a lot
question.
of the reason that people have continue to play Melee is because they feel that there's a trajectory. Like now you feel Melee's going to be around forever, basically, right?
It's a good point.
What I think if this game just kind of magically appeared out of the ether, that's different from there's a dev team behind it and they're maybe updating it, doing things in the future, and there's a plan for it.
Get their little hands on it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Little dev
and
team
then
there.
there's is there any legal thing where Nintendo would try to get at it, even though it's you're really only copying over the guts of the code and not brand assets or whatever. Wow. But I mean, the spirit of the question is, would we just go there to forge our own path?
Right. Would we be better off or worse off?
Well, I think some people would be better off and some people would be worse off. I think that might be in some ways it would set a lot of people free, but it might also be harder to get more people on board because
Yeah.
if Melee existed like that from the beginning, would I be playing it? I don't know, probably not, because what drew me to Melee in the beginning is all the Nintendo characters. And it's you can make up your own little stories about what's happening in the game because you have all these relationships with the characters, right? And that's the whole point of stuff like Smash and Multiverses and whatever. Is you have all this stuff, things I know, all put into a blender, and you can. It's like a little sandbox universe you can create for yourself. So that, bit of magic would be lost. But I think that the people who are just I want to sit down and play just a good game, those people will win in that scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do spend a good bit of time thinking about, the growth of the community and the health of the community and so on. And yeah, I mean, I gotta say, man, even paying attention to other fighting games that are big, the biggest fighting game is Smash Ultimate. And that's because it's Smash Bros. It's Smash Bros. And it's got that huge casual appeal. Everybody knows Smash Bros. People play it. I think that kind of thing matters a lot. We saw this with Multiverses. People are excited to play Super Saiyan Shaggy versus Batman. That's cool to people. And it's cooler than what was one of the, okay, people like me and PP, we're going to complain about, the offense is too strong and defense is too weak in NASB. But what's the actual overwhelming complaint people actually had on Twitter from non-competitive players? Not me and PP. It was that there wasn't voice acting. They wanted to hear iconic SpongeBob voice lines. That was the #1 complaint people had. The Multiverses trailer, they put them on blast for that in their trailer. Multiverse, I thought this was a little bit underhanded. I felt bad for the team over at Ludosity, but in the Multiverses trailer, they made a really big point. They were like, "And our game has voice acting," and I was like, "Oh, dude, they're trying to put them 6 feet under." But people really do care about that sort of thing, and I think even if I'm a competitive player, even if I'm happy like that I get to play a really good game with all the frame data and all the I'm even gonna assume the audio fidelity. I'm gonna assume that the tipper sound from the sword character sounds as good, and the knee sound from the buff guy character sounds as good. So even if I had all that, I just still worry that it'd be hard to get new players in the same way. It's such a double-edged sword here. I think for me the biggest thing is Smash has widespread casual appeal, and like you said, Sheridan, Melee's got a lot of historical respect. People respect the Melee name, which is I think why a lot of competitive gamers from other spheres at least kind of watch it or dabble in it or whatever. And that would be the thing I'd be the most afraid of losing.
Yeah, and I would like to tip my non-existent hat to you, Sheridan, because your point about this idea of Melee moving along a certain way, and then it's not Melee, it's a different thing, and it might have similar code, but it's not Melee, and there was a trajectory, there was a story, and it looked one way, even if the graphics have looked better over time. That's something I'd never considered with this question before. And that really causes me to think about it very differently. Whereas I think before I thought, oh, well, yeah, there will be a split and some people won't like it and some people will. And I think maybe it'll depend on, like the mangoes and plups and how much they like it. And I think a lot of people might, go over based on that and what TOs, like yourself decide to do and how all that plays out. And of course, any legal thing notwithstanding. But yeah, that makes it very tricky, right? Do we make the jump and potentially say, okay, we are jumping ship, and this is something that we might not even really be able to reverse, right? Can we come out of a second Melee Dark Age? I don't know if we handle that one as well a second time. That'd be a lot farther to fall for us. So yeah, that's a lot trickier than I imagined. There are a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
The calculation is a lot different for me now on that one.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, do I know if Nintendo even knows what their source code for Melee is? Do I think they know where that is, or if they could try and run that? I'd be surprised. I think that's part of why people bring up this idea. So I might. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, obviously. I don't know what they do over at Nintendo anyway. Mm-hmm. Especially with a lot of their decisions. But so I don't know what they would try to do there. But to me, it always kind of seemed like it made sense anyway. They'd probably leave it alone if we actually did that, which could be nice. That could open us up for a whole lot of stuff. So a high risk, maybe high reward. Maybe we can get more sponsors and everything like that. And I'm sure you could speak much more to how all of that plays out, Sheridan.
Yeah, and maybe if you have like the right designers, maybe the characters and graphics that you create becomes their own news story. Like people can work their magic, but as like a kind of a STEM lord guy, I always like to think, oh, what matters to me is just the mechanics. I don't need the graphics or whatever. I just want to have fun with the mechanics. But the more I play games, like the more you realize how important that is to you. Because there's plenty of games that I've played or thought about playing where I'm like, oh, this game has an amazing idea and just I love all these mechanics. But then I look at the graphics and there's just like meat everywhere, and I'm just like, zero chance I'm playing this. I don't care if this is the greatest city builder plus Factorio that's ever been devised. I'm not going to play it. So I mean, there's depending on like how beautiful and interesting and fun like the reskin is, could go. I think that could make a big difference.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it could be better in theory. It could be better in theory. You never know. And I don't know who would rise to that occasion, but that would be really interesting. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't know. Yeah, there's great video games coming all the time. There's it is possible for someone to just. I think it's tough because as Melee players, I think Melee players feel somewhat burned in the past because like there have been platform fighter promises that have kind of tried to do this sort of thing, and those have kind of failed in the past, right? Mind you, in a way that I think a lot of the newer platform fighters that I'm seeing trailers for all the time, games like Framemakers, games like Rushdown Revolt, games like freaking Rivals of Ether 2. I saw like 10 seconds of footage from that game, and I was like, wait, this looks really good.
Yeah.
Like there's like tech chasing, and like there's like real options, and like it looks visually good, and the sound of the explosion sounded good. And I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of exciting. So maybe things change in the future. And I think for Melee players, you know, we're always a little bit boomery. We err on the side of being boomers when it comes to this sort of thing, but I don't know. Sky's the limit. Anything can happen. Do you have a take, Omar?
Yeah, I got a take. I think
Hit
it'd
us.
take a miracle to get it right, and I don't think it's feasible. Also, people would not switch. There's something so mystical about Melee being a Smash game from 2001. It wouldn't
That's
work,
fair.
but I wanted to know what
Sure
you
is.
guys thought.
20-year. I'm mostly with you. I'm like 95% with you. I think it'd be really tough to make it work. I
Could
think
be
it would take
sick.
it could be, but it's like such a sliver of a hope, you know?
You know,
Yeah.
I think there's just something really beautiful about Melee, man.
Dude, I hate to do. Listen, I've done my fair share of the PM guys out there. Don't hurt me for this. You guys know I love you. I went to PM Theater. I commentated the top 8. It was fucking awesome. I love that game. I think it's super dope. Junebug's the coolest person on the planet. But when we were at the after party for PM Theater, you know, because top 3 was there were 2 Donkey Kongs and there was some Ice Climbers, and they asked me, you know, well, hey, what'd you think of the event? What'd you think of the top 4? You know, or commentating the top 8? And I was like, well, it was really cool, and the gameplay was really, you know, fun to watch. Except you guys have too many fucking big bodies. I don't know how else to put it to you. There's too much fucking Donkey Kong. I'm sorry. It's just how I feel. There's too much Donkey Kong and there's too much Ice Climbers. I get it. I get it. And they were like, yeah. Yeah, kind of. So, you know, even that, like, you know, people were like, PM's the perfect Smash game. I'm like, well, Donkey Kong's too good. Don't hurt me. Donkey Kong's too good. I'm sorry. So it's hard to get even those sorts of things right. Like Sheridan, like you said, if people tweak around even with the balance a little bit, sometimes you end up in this world where Donkey Kong is a little bit too good, and it's like kind of weird.
Looking forward to a PM person calling in next week.
No, I think a lot of PM people would like agree with me. I think a lot of PM people would be like, yeah, fuck Donkey Kong. I actually think a lot of them would be on my side on this one. And by the way, I love Thunder's Raid. One of my favorite. I think he's a hilarious dude. And this is not about Thunders. It's just Donkey Kong in general. Anyways, whatever. The point is, even when you think there's so little that can go wrong, you know, like, you know, Melee's a very magical accident. You know, there's parallel universes where one little tiny thing was different and it didn't take off the way it did. So, anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Omar. Fun
Great
question,
Omar.
fun to think about. Really just important for the health and future of the game to discuss these things. So thanks for bringing it up. And any shout outs for us on your way out today?
Yeah, thanks for your thoughtful answers, y'all, and huge shout outs to Anus Baboose.
Anus Baboose.
All right, see you guys.
Take care,
Shout
gamer.
outs indeed. The hugest of shout outs for that.
Well
individual.
said. Well said on that
I
one.
liked that guy. Did you guys think he sounded kind of like Robin with his voice? Which is weird. His Boston, but I kind of had that sense for some reason.
I can kind of hear it now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we've got time for at least one more caller, and it looks like it's going to be Big Orange Fish.
Big Orange Fish, welcome to the show. Where are you calling in from? What's your question for us today, gamer?
Hi, I'm calling in from Pittsburgh.
Very nice.
So my question was, with so many people getting into Melee now, 20 years into its lifespan, what are your favorite players, rivalries, moments, or events that might have been lost to time in the game's history that newer players might not know about?
It's perfect that you're from Pittsburgh. It's so perfect that you're from Pittsburgh and you're asking this question. My immediate answer is going to be, and this is exactly why I felt compelled to make a YouTube video series on the topic, the saga of Borp. I worry that Slippy kids don't know about Borp. and that whole thing. So I did. You guys can feel free. Anyone watching can feel free to go check my. I made two YouTube videos on it. We had me versus Borp, and my favorite Borp set of all time, Spark versus Borp, which was what I call the net 1 2 3 4 of Chris Best of Chic Dittos. Speaking of which, net 1 2 3 4 versus Chris Best is in this conversation somewhere. Oh, this is such a good question. There's so many. Yeah, you guys go. Sharon, you probably got some because I moved to NorCal in 2013, but you were there for a lot of the good ones before I got there.
Yeah.
Me and PP were just watching on the Waffle 77. So.
Okay, so there's a certain kind of Melee set that has just been lost to time that just doesn't really happen anymore. It doesn't get the kind of airtime.
Yes.
And that is Jay Kuhn versus the Greater Leon.
Oh, great set. Which Chris Best versus Net 1 2 3 4 is just the evolution of. It's just the evolution of that.
Right.
Can you describe that set for the people?
Yes. Well, back in the day, we did all our communication on Smashboards, and it so happened that you might just have beef with somebody on Smashboards. Maybe you don't like the way they post, you hate their stupid avatar. They always are just talking Johns after the tournament, and that's what happened in SoCal in 2008, maybe 9. Jay Kuhn and the Greater Leon, two legendary Smashboards shit posters, were just like, I had enough of you. We're going to settle this. And, these are like perennial 1 and 2, 2 and 2 players. And when we did this, I think this was at the first Pat's house. So yeah, that was 2009. Okay. The entire venue is watching this set.
And cheering.
I have a fun anecdote about that statement, Sheridan, but I will let you finish your story first.
Yeah, and so it's a Marth Ditto, right? And Marth noobs are they're interesting because you can kind of see what's going on in their brains. You can see those little couple of gears starting to turn with every just spammed forward smash and random up air that was clearly supposed to be an up tilt. You know exactly what's happening. You know that they know what they are trying to do, and they just can't do it. And you're just feeling their struggle throughout the whole thing.
And you also know that the louder you cheer, the more it will happen.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yes.
And their DI is not good. And dude, the combination of bad DI and bad reactions to neutral means tippers kill at 20. And it's great. People get tippered and they die. There's no recovery necessary. They just die off the wall. It's insane, and it keeps happening. Because this was before. You guys have to understand that modern Marth players have similar problems. I think modern Marth players are also a little bit too telegraphed in what they're looking for. But they've watched enough years of Zan footage and before that Mewtwo King footage that they kind of know they're supposed to be dash dancing and looking for a grab because then you can do your combo and they're not so. But that was not the case in 2009. In 2009, especially when there was $100 on the line, you just forward smashed. That's all you did. There was none of the pretense. There was none of this, I'm trying to be someone I'm not, searching for my grab, dash dancing. It was such honest gameplay in that sense. I want to hit you with a move. What move do I want to hit you with? My biggest move. The forward smash.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, were there a lot of forward smashes.
So you said you had something to tell about the crowd.
Yeah. You mentioned that everyone in the venue was watching. So I watched game roughly 1, and I was standing on that balcony because you remember it was like a weird 2-story venue. Yeah. And I was standing next to Forward, Sean Forward B. Yeah. And Forward was not impressed. And Forward did not know what the fuck was going on. And he was like, who are these shitty Marths? And I think Forward turned to me midway through game 1 and he goes, you want to play some friendlies? And I was like, dude, it's fucking Forward. And Forward is my fucking hero because I played Falco back then. And I was like, yeah, I want to play some friendlies. So I just played friendlies with Forward for 30 minutes instead of watching the set, which for me was very worth it because I was a huge Forward fan back then. And I will take that. I will take that over anything. So I don't think I made the wrong answer, but I did not. I had to watch the set later on YouTube. I did. I confess. I was in the other room.
Well, I mean, you certainly heard a lot of it, so
I did. Oh, yeah.
You got part of the experience for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think there was something very poetic about the ridiculous look on Forward's face and him going like, "Do you want to just play some friendlies?" And I was like, "Sure." Like I thought that moment was really funny because he was like not impressed.
Yeah.
He was like, "These guys suck." Which was hysterical. So I still think I got something out of it. Yeah, I do. Were there any moments like this in your neck of the woods, PP, like in North Carolina, or because I never get to hear about I don't know that much about like Loser and freaking like
dude, you know what's crazy?
players like that.
It was we were talking about Prometheus before stream started. He's from North Carolina, and Smash Daddy is from North Carolina. If you want to hear about a North Carolina player, you wait for them to move out. It is the saddest thing of all time. I think I might be the only exception to that rule.
And then they suddenly get good, and it's like, what?
Yeah, and you're like, well, gee, I wonder how that happened.
What the fuck are you?
I wonder what they were doing before. And they were always getting upper part of North Carolina before, but I'm always like, man, no one ever knows.
Did Smash Daddy go to any of the tournaments that you went to?
Not that I went to, no.
Okay.
It was after.
But like you were still good. You just weren't going to your locals at this point.
Yeah, I just wasn't going.
No kidding.
But for something that we had in terms of a set like this, we would do this for fun. There would be no money on the line. We would just go and start yelling "stack it up" and getting hype for two people playing in pools just to watch them play bad, and because it was fun to get hype with the boys. And that was like one of our favorite. We did that for like 2 years, and we had a great time every time. We like doing that more than we did it for money matches when Lozer would money match people out of state because it was fun. He would always do something crazy, but we liked it more when it was people in pools because we got the J. Kuhn Greater Leon effect every time. We had so much greater impact. So that was we had so much of those without money. With money, it happened less, so that was less fun, but still fun. Yeah, any players, I don't know, there are other people, of course, I can shout out. I think not as many people know about Money Mike now. He was someone that played for quite a while, started not too long after me. Good Falcon player, put out a few combo videos that inspired various Falcons. I know none
I think those are good. I think those are good combo videos, yeah. I do. And I have pretty high standards these days for Falcon combo videos.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, and Money Mike and I talked about the game for, a couple of years and everything too. So that was a lot of fun. But, Sheridan talking about a certain type of set. Really, what I miss most, and, if you have delicate ears, I may not recommend this, but man, the old matches on the Waffle 77, the channel that's been brought up. It really saved Melee. It really created so much narrative. Brandon was like a one-man army for Melee. He recorded, he commentated, he uploaded, and he competed well. He was doing everything, putting the scene on his back. But him and Phil getting hype and just 70% of the $45 or, whatever other thing they were coming up with that day.
Yeah.
It was so awesome to listen to. Their energy was great. They were hilarious. The vibes like that are unbeatable. Unparalleled for me. So that time period will always hold a beautiful special place.
And they were a big reason, first of all, that I got into commentary because I really admired their ability to make you feel like you were in the venue with them, even though you're watching from home from a different state. And also, they're a big part of the reason I wanted to move to NorCal after I graduated. So a big part of the reason I live where I live right now. And it's cool because I think you're totally right. Just in terms of things type of set that can't happen anymore. I feel like there's that, I don't know, man. I'm even thinking of I wonder what it's like these days. Cause I remember back in the day, man, we would do shit fucking, man, when Iceman was first getting good. I remember we'd be at our Smash Fest on Friday. He'd be over at the house cause we'd be having our Smash with us, everybody over on Friday. And we would do shit I'd be like, Iceman, I can force stock you on command. And he'd be like, you can't force stock me on command. I'd be like, I'll bet you $5 right now that I play you in 2 friendlies and I force stock you in at least one of them. I force stocked him on the first game. And and it's just I don't know if there's that. You could call it hazing, but like we used to haze people.
Mhm.
We used to haze people, and it was
Oh yeah, you're really selling them on it now, Toph.
I'm just saying. Listen, I'm just saying times were different back then. Okay, I'm just saying times were
That's
different,
true.
and I don't know. I think like even because you reminded me of it with the Waffle 77 thing. Where like I remember it was funny. There was like I would watch the commentary on like these sets with like Silent Spectre versus Shroom, and they'd be like, "Man, Dewan's whack. Like Dewan, blah blah blah. Like Dewan can't even J grab. Dewan can't even blah blah blah." And and of course Dewan, is one of the greatest players of all time. So I think, especially in the lens of retrospect, it's
yeah. Imagine someone
exceptionally
tries
funny.
that today at a regional. That goes well.
Yeah, right. And I just don't think that kind of thing can happen anymore. But
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think that if it's done with the right energy, and I think in Dewan's case it was, because I feel like Dewan is the perfect sort of person to take that kind of thing on the chin and be like, "Man, fuck you guys. I'll be back next week. I'm coming for you guys next." So there's I think the whole thing with it is there needs to be a level of understanding on both sides, and I think that back then we were tight knit enough that we can make it happen, and we've gotten bigger as a community, so it's just harder to make that kind of thing happen. But boy, when you were a part of that back in the day, it was very cool, and
Yes.
I do miss it. I do miss it. So this is what it is.
100%.
Man, any other moments, rivalries, things like that? There's so many. There really are so many. Man, I'm gonna think of one more rivalry before we put this question to bed, because there's so much.
I mean, as a Teams fan, I got to bring up, Ken and Isaiah's doubles run.
Oh, that
which
is also lost to time.
which was finally brought to an end by Taj and Forward.
Yep.
At Champ Combo 2007, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Ken was untouchable. He was basically not beatable in singles, but Ken and Isaiah were basically beyond untouchable in teams for years. I mean, it was brutal. Like so, I always feel a little bad. I know that I don't even bring it up when people talk about Go teams or whatever. Now I know it's not worth it, but I think every time someone talks about them, I bring them up. So absolutely for sure on that one.
They were nuts.
Yeah, and really. I think the PewFat versus Team UGS or Leffen and Ice, like that era of teams, like really overall surpasses like the Ken and Isaiah run. But like, yeah, man, I just miss people really caring about teams.
Yeah, it was cool to see great teams.
I shudder to think of the day that PewFat is, and the legacy of PewFat and Team UGS are lost to time. I hate that.
It has to have already begun.
All right, Sheridan, we got to do something. We got to do Fuse Season 2. We just gotta. I don't know what it's gonna take. We got to do something. We got to stop with this doubles on Friday nonsense. Blur was right.
I've always wanted to do an all doubles event, but the challenge is finding enough things to do, like for your money for that event. Because a doubles event, just by its nature, it takes half as long as a singles event, basically, for the same number of people. You can't build a 2-day hype all the way through event just with like a singles doubles bracket. There's got to be more to do. And there's so many cool things you can do with just messing with doubles that I have yet to be tried. I think there's a way to do a really great double.
We got to do something.
Triples bracket.
Well, we actually did doubles finals at Genesis on Saturday, like G3 and G4, but it's just a tough schedule. You got to go back and forth between singles and doubles.
Yeah.
Then you got top 64, like just right after it. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough for the players. It's tough for at least some players who like to have that separation.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I have started to make this argument recently that I think, at least from the scheduling / spectator standpoint, I think we can definitely get away with. I think this is something people forget. People say we put doubles on Friday because, well, the viewership's already less. People like watching doubles less. And I have started raising the counterpoint to people and I would like to see what you guys think of this. I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but I tell people, listen, for every time you thought to yourself, gee whiz, doubles sure is hard to watch and I don't know what's going on, you were probably watching low-level doubles. You were probably watching pools, or you were probably watching earlier in the bracket. And then when you go, and then you probably equivalently say to yourself things like, but PewFat, watching those guys is dope. Watching Armada and Android, that's dope. People like watching doubles top 8 in general. Doubles top 8, top 4, usually a good time. The team combos are flowing. There's more sense to what's going on the screen. The cohesion is just better between the players. It feels more like a unified team versus a unified team than earlier in the bracket. So I do think there's a world where, at least from a spectator standpoint, it would make sense actually to put doubles later in the event when more eyeballs would potentially be on it. But I do agree that there needs to be some kind of way to get at least some top players on board. The funny thing is, the same types of top players who will say things like, it's really hard to plan your competitive schedule around singles and doubles being close to each other. You hear these same sorts of people sometimes ridiculing having all of doubles run on Friday. So sometimes I wonder that there is no real right answer that really, from a scheduling perspective, that just gets everybody on the same page. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about having it all on Friday is that, like, you get to end with something spectacular.
Punchy. Yeah. Yeah,
right?
that's true.
It's not just like, this is the last set of round 2 singles for the day, and then we just go home. Like, you end with
That's a good
something
point.
that it's
Matters.
a natural culmination of something. And yeah, it kind of sucks that it's all on one day, but what else are you gonna do? What else fills that final?
Gotta be an answer, man. There's
2-hour
gotta be an
block
answer.
Friday.
There's gotta be an answer. What was the whole Fuse thing? I thought Fuse was dope. What about that? That was a little different, I guess, because it was like a circuit.
Well, and also we had like it was really to fill in the void left by Melee being on Saturday at Evo. And we had a finals Fuse event at the Smash GG Vegas house on Sunday. So like that, it was to fill in that. So, yeah, I mean, it was fun, and I'm surprised how much buy-in it got from the top players. Yeah, I would love to do something like that again, but it's just a matter of like, you gotta have a finals event.
So it's gotta make sense.
It's gotta make sense. And Smash GG gave us $5,000 for the pot for it. So like, we had just like things just fell into place that made it work out.
Yeah, scheduling has also got to be a lot harder now. So many events, so many big events. Well, as we sit and marinate on doubles, I think we've spent quite a bit of time on the question. So a great discussion all around. We can always have it as we transition between callers if there's another thought, but I will say, Big Orange Fish, thank you so much for calling in. Do you have any shout outs for us on your way out today?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I want to shout out Pittsburgh Melee and all the people who organize and play in Man on a Ledge every week.
Mole.
Yeah, Mole's a great time. Fridays.
As long as PGH Carroll doesn't get lost to time, I'm happy.
Yeah, that'd be sad.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for calling in, Gamer.
Protect him at all costs.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just wanted to respond to, I'm mostly doing this because of the username. Just want to respond to hashtag 420 YOLO SWAC Monster in my chat asking, how do you call and ask a question? Well, you can come back next Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and use exclamation mark radio in our chat, my chat or PP's chat. You can come in and ask us any question you want. But yeah, we do, I think, have our last caller coming in for the day. Thank you for asking. Hashtag 420 YOLO SWAC Monster. I hope to see you next Tuesday.
We're going to see you next week for sure. Dreadful Rel, thank you for calling in. Where are you calling in from, Gamer? What's your question for us?
I'm calling in from Los Angeles, although I don't play a lot of Melee here. But I love the show. Thanks for having me. The question is about kind of the longevity of the gods of Melee. Made it really easy to follow storylines, develop rivalries, and kind of grow together as a fan base. So wondering if you consider having many newer players at the top level kind of a double-edged sword for the community.
I see.
Yeah. I think so. What I've kind of noticed is people seem generally more excited if they're already in. I guess maybe for people that aren't following as closely, it could be more confusing. But I think if you are following a little more closely, or at least for the majors and everything like that, it seems more exciting to have more top players based on what I see, the way I see people talking about it. And I think part of it, I think we're still trying to figure out how we want to describe all this narratively, like not just, oh, things are crazy right now, but how do we weave storylines for players and name them in a way that worked really well, compared to like Ken in the past or Mango in the past when they were just dominating, or the gods or whatever. And then, how do we figure that out? And I think, I don't think anyone's hit upon the right solution yet. But I think that's going to help a lot as we can try and figure that out and push that. But in the meantime, there is at least some benefit for more higher level players, and I think for a lot of people that want to get into the game, it could be exciting too, because they can say, okay, well, there's a lot more of these people doing this right now, and maybe more than ever, or at least for a long time, and so that's got to be really good. Maybe I could do it too, right? So that's got to be pretty good for keeping the scene healthy and motivated and interested in watching the average event. But yeah, for establishing storylines, I do agree it is confusing, and I think 2 weeks after tournament, I don't remember what happened. I barely remember what happened to Shine. It's so confusing. There are so many tournaments. It all blends together in my brain. So totally fair point on that point. I just can't remember all this stuff anymore. And yeah, maybe there's some way to help with that, and that would be fantastic.
Good point.
Yeah, I think you can try to. I mean, I think it's great for people who already know what the Era of the Five Gods is, and now that like we've moved past this, and it's it's very exciting to see like what direction things are going to take. But as far as like somebody who doesn't already know the storylines, how do you tell them the Era of the Five Gods is over? Now is the era of whatever. It's like, I don't know. It's like the opening lines to like an RPG or something that's giving you the setting.
Kind of sick.
Yeah. I mean, a catchy name, I guess, would be great. I'm trying to think of like historical examples of this. I think like when Alexander the Great died, like basically all of his generals and were just kind of competing for what was left over. But that's not really like five gods. That was one god or one really strong guy.
Right.
We don't really have a situation where there was like five stable entities and then something else happened.
Yeah, it would be like a complex alliance dissolving or expanding or something. I don't
Yeah,
really know.
probably stretching it a little bit.
Yeah, I guess.
Make a historical thing there. I think somebody eventually on commentary is just gonna randomly think of a snappy name, and then it's just gonna stick.
No pressure, Toph.
Yeah. Usually Scar is the person that we usually entrust with these sorts of things. So yeah, hopefully okay, but in all seriousness, I think we're in a pretty good spot. And the reason I say that is I think that we've got enough of the old guard to give people something to latch onto. There's Mango, there's Hungry Box.
Yeah.
There's people who are kind of in the middle that I think people are familiar enough with at this point. Leffen certainly has the notoriety to rival any of the five gods, if not exceed, at this point. I think Leffen is very much a familiar face for people. Even Plup, right? I think Plup, surging in popularity after winning that Genesis. Amsa, same way. And, I gotta say, at the end of the day, I had not heard a crowd cheer for somebody the way the crowd at Genesis 8. What was the most recent one? Was it 8? It was 8. I can't do numbers for tournaments. That's my weakness. I've never heard a crowd cheer the way that crowd cheered for J-Mook. They were super loud. Even compared to other people who would normally be crowd favorites. Like even, I've been to tournaments for 10 years and I've never heard anybody get applause to rival Mango. I've just never seen that. I've never seen that. In all of the years I've been to tournaments, Mango has always been the guy that people get the loudest for. Until J-Mook at Genesis 8. J-Mook got more applause. And even None versus J-Mook that happened in top 8. None, obviously, a crowd favorite kind of player, somebody who I think people get really excited for, especially when he makes it into top 8, because then it's like, oh, like when Nunn's playing good, it's like, oh shit, this is awesome. He's in top 8, and whoever was doing the hosting, Sheridan, who's doing the hosting? I want to give them a nod. I don't want to just.
Was that
Stude maybe?
Yeah, Studebaker.
And Stude goes, let's hear it for Nunn. And, the crowd's like, yeah, people like Nunn. And then it's like, and his opponent, J Mook. And the crowd went fucking crazy. I mean, they're losing their fucking minds. It was deafening. It was deafening. And it was like, and I was like, oh my God. Like, Nunn just got out did by a Sheik player. Which is crazy, that shouldn't happen, but it did. And, that makes me think that, like, having some fresh faces injected into the top level is actually pretty good when it happens in the right way. And I think J-Mook is an example of that. The guy's stylish, the guy's fun to watch. I think, yeah, people latch on to names that they know, but I think people, even relative casuals, I think people can latch on to cool play styles. I think people can figure that out, and I think people figure that out for J-Mook, and so it's not so bad.
I think also, like, people, like, the Five Gods is like, we all kind of expected it eventually, like, it has to end sometime. We just didn't know how it was going to happen. And I think like that was like kind of the unspoken thing behind the era of the Five Gods is, okay, when is this going to be over? When are the new people going to come in and disrupt what we have right now? And what's going to come out of that? Right? We're in that time where that we all wondered what was going to happen. And so yeah, it's very exciting to see it all play out.
And I really want to reiterate that I think majors are so fucking cool right now because, like, we have never had a time in Melee where 4 of the top, when I say top players, I basically mean people who can win a major. So in the Five Gods era, it was the Five Gods, and now I think it's basically, I think there's 9 people to me that feel like they are really fucking good. To me, it's Mango, Zane, Hungry Box, IBW. I know these people aren't all exactly on the same level, but like Leffen, Plup, Amsa, Wizzy, and J-Mook. To me, like, those are the 9 people where they feel like shoo-ins for top 8. Like, those people, you always expect them to see them in top 8. To me. Now, first of all, we've never had 9 people ever in Melee history. We've never had 9 people where it felt like they should make top 8. So that's new and that's weird. So there's always, that's always going to be the case. But it feels for the first time to me like you can have a significant portion of the absolute top players skip a tournament and it still feels like a super major. We've never had that. And I think that's a really, really, really good place for the competitive community to be in. And you're seeing it, I got to say, even in terms of like viewer numbers, when you compare like Melee to Alt, like I was looking at, Riptide, Melee was on BTS Smash 2, but it was kind of smushing Alt in viewership because, there were enough of the top players there that people felt like it was a really important tournament, which was awesome, and we never used to really have that.
It would be a struggle to fill out the featuring this, and this person, etc.
Oh God, yeah, you'd run out of text. The text field would get to, yeah, you'd hit the limit. Yeah, it's nuts. So I think it's mostly a good thing. I know what you mean by double-edged sword. I think it used to be that way more than it is now, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think it's really cool that there are enough of the old heads because you got people. I mean, you got to shout them out. You got people like Hungrybox and Mango that give people something to latch onto. People who've been out of the game for a while. People who haven't really. They're like, oh, these guys are still hella good. Oh, who are these guys though? And and Hungrybox is doing his content thing, and that's kind of expanding his fan base and his appeal. And I think all of those are just positives. So we're in a good spot right now.
Yeah, because I mean, the Five Gods era could have just ended with them being like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And somebody else has to be number 1. But it ended with people coming up and beating them and getting to their level and establishing themselves as, the new threats and the new number 1s. That's like the best possible way that we could have made that transition.
Agreed. And who knows, man? Maybe one day we get PP back on the sticks.
Yes, sir. Then we'll see what
But
era
until then,
it is then, right?
That's right. But until then, you guys know where to find PP. Right here on Radio Melee, baby. Tuesdays, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. East Coast time.
Love that.
Woo!
Thank you, Toph. Yes, sir. But hey, thank you so much, Dreadful Rel, for calling in. I think cool question and again a lot of thought provoking ones that are good to pass around today. Any shout outs for us on your way out today?
Yeah, I'll shout out my friend Pond and my friend whose tag is WTFA54, who are both always down to play. And maybe an older school shout out to Sastifer, who's still doing great and playing some Street Fighter Turbo 2 sometimes after work. So
very nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your coworkers with Sastifer?
A few years ago. Yeah.
I see.
Cool.
Insane.
Very cool. Well, good luck to him, and thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Very
All
nice.
right.
Did not expect to get a Sastifer shout out.
Yeah. One of the last people on the list, but I guess it makes sense. Sheridan really brings him out. Love that.
Brings out the old heads.
Yes, sir.
Well,
All
only
right.
one thing left to do. I think that's all the callers for the day.
Yep.
But Sheridan, I think we alluded to this earlier. It's time for you to pose a question to the greater community. The greatest community, in fact, the Golden Guardians Melee YouTube subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, you might consider clicking the subscribe button and ringing the bell. I don't know what the bell does, but you should ring it.
Yeah, find out.
I think it sends you it makes the thing make a noise when the thing goes up.
That sounds horrible. I wouldn't do that, but you should do it.
Right. Okay. So we're asking the community.
Right. It could be a serious question, funny question. Who would Elijah Wood main? What's your favorite tournament series? Do you want to shout out a player? Like, it can be,
Brandon,
whatever.
When we had Brandon on, Brandon posed the question: who would win between LeBron James and Steph Curry in Melee, and which characters would they pick?
Wow.
Yeah, and some people
really
went crazy with their answers. So really, don't feel the need to be constrained by what we've heard today. If you want to go off the rails, feel free. Whatever you think the YouTube comments need to answer that only you can ask.
Well, I've been working on Genesis today mostly, so I've still kind of got my Genesis hat on, but I don't want to make it about Genesis. I just want to know what's something that has never been done at a major, like in terms of the in-person experience. Something that's never been done, you've always wanted to have happen.
Yeah.
Dude, I really want to hear the answer to this question.
That is a great question. We're going to get at least one really good idea out of this.
Yeah. I mean, I think I see something I've really liked. I've loved to see TOs ask this type of question more because it shows that everyone's still trying to evolve that. Like, I forget which TO I was seeing talk about it on Twitter like a few months ago, and there were so many cool responses and ideas, and I'm excited to see more of that.
Even we had Robin, we were filming some content which you guys can check out probably in a couple days, probably Friday, if not whatever, in a couple days. Juggle Guy was on filming some content. Juggle Guy was saying he felt more confident about this upcoming big house than he's ever felt about a big house. He was like, this one's going to be crazy. Like I've got more confidence coming into this particular iteration of my Super Major than anyone I've done in the past. So it's cool for me. Yeah, it is cool to see Super Major TOs think about this sort of thing and continually try to elevate their game the way players do.
Yeah.
So I got something. It's not set in stone yet, but something I want to tease and see if this is something that people would want. How about a karaoke machine in the venue?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Won't that be loud?
Well, we'll put it by the other loud stuff. Put it by the arcade where all the noise is happening.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
That's cool. That sounds fun.
I love that idea. I would use it.
Now, I've never done karaoke in my life, so somebody.
No. When are you coming to NorCal next year?
No, I do not sing. I don't.
The question. Just answer the question.
No.
Well, I'm not asking for that reason. I'm just asking if you're ever coming down to the Bay Area for unrelated reasons anytime soon. Yeah, when?
I will be down in the middle of October.
I will message you.
I'm going to Falco Mist's wedding.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're going to be here in the middle of the week?
Well, I also have to go to Sacramento for a work meeting, but I will be in the Bay for at least one.
All right, that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. For unrelated reasons.
Pro to show me what things am I not thinking. I can't just put a stage and a microphone and a machine there. It's got to be more complicated than that. So I need the pros to help me figure out how to set it up right.
We'll put something together.
Yeah, but aside from that, please do not steal my idea. Other events that are happening before Genesis, but
please,
something that has never happened at a major that you wish has happened. Like what are you looking for? What's never been done that we need to do?
I love that.
Toph, did you say that you had an answer?
I was going to say laser tag tournament. Don't take me seriously. But I was saying, like, literally,
dude, that'd be
as are happening. Like, you got the guys playing laser tag, and then, because there's CRTs and stuff. I mean, someone's going to get hurt, so it's a liability issue.
Oh, I assumed it'd be like a different area.
Or no, same area.
That's insane.
Same area. Yeah. Wow. That's my idea.
I don't know how you would do that.
It's probably literally not legal. Is the first problem. It probably literally violates building fire codes. So that's the first issue, and then there's other issues on top of that, such as the tweet Leffen would make.
Yeah.
But okay, if you could get through all these issues, I think it's a cool idea.
Right. I'm imagining the meme of the person like bending over to dodge all the laser beams right now. Feels very appropriate. Yeah, I don't know if I have like a super good answer because I just have always just liked being at tournaments and not felt like I needed anything extra because it's just nice to see everyone and play Melee and stuff and watch it. So I never felt like I needed more, but I think for a lot of people, especially people that are on Slippy, there does need to be more. And figuring out what the draw is, I think is cool. I mean, SmashCon having cosplay contests and combo contests and stuff, I think is really cool, right? It's like a convention and everything. So I like that sort of thing happens, and it'd be kind of cool to see us get more of a niche in that way. So really fun question, and I
had a cool idea that's also maybe not feasible, but just imagine if there was how the fuck would you even do this? Imagine there was like a literal local internet network, like a LAN area where you could play unranked against other people in the same building. So there's imagine 10 or 20 setups, and they're literally Slippy unranked setups, but you could just hop on and play someone else that's somewhere there and you don't know who it is. It's random.
So you
need enough setups
you would pay the venue fee and go to the tournament so you could just get on unranked anyway.
Yes, but play people in the building. Me and Cactor used to do this. We used to be roommates, and then we would just net play against each other. Because it's different. Somehow it's different.
Yeah. Also, let us know in your comment if you want to go and play unranked at a major. We're curious,
but with other people in the same building.
Yes, with the same people.
Trust me, it's crazy enough to work.
Well, if someone's toxic to you there, you can run around screaming for them, and they will hear it. So that's a plus.
Precisely.
Yeah. Good luck spamming lol there. Anyway, before I'm terrified of Toph's next idea, so I think I'm going to take us out. But thank you so much, Sheridan, for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure to have you.
This is great. Lots of fun.
Awesome. Thank
you,
guys. Appreciate it, man. Much love to you. Thank you, Toph. Thank you, callers. Thank you, viewers and listeners out there. We will see you soon. This is Radio Melee signing out.